guys, welcome back to my channel. It is that time of month already where we have to do a wrap up for the month before. So today we're just going to be going over books we read in March. And I'm going to start with my physical copies. This month, I think, was a very good month for me. I read 11 books this month. I read 2 arcs as well this month. Read 4,296 pages. This just blows my mind that I can even read that much. I have a new all-time favorite in this video as well. I'm just super excited about the books that I read this month. A lot of these books, I will say, are why I choose romances because that's what I just enjoy reading. So let's just get into this. Let's just start with the paperbacks that we have on hand and go from there. First book we're going to be talking about is Renegades. I feel like I've talked about this book in one of my vlogs from last month or even the end of February, but I finished this in March, like the second day of March or something like that. So here we are. Love the cover. Thought I was going to love this book. I did not. I ended up giving it 2.5 stars. Like I said before, I love the action. I really enjoyed the characters, but I just feel like when there was no action going on, it was very just boring to me and I was dragging to get through it, but I was so excited for this book. So I'm so disappointed that it's a 2.5 stars for me. And I'm going to continue the series because of how it ended. I want to know what's going to happen. Obviously this has that superhero villain vibe going to it. There are people with powers and then there are people without powers. Both the Renegades and that it's not Antichrist, Anarchies have powers, and some people have the same powers, other people have different powers. Next I read Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I have nothing. I feel like this has been all over the place. I don't need to explain it. I gave it 5 stars. So 2 5-stars in here. Probably one of my new favorite YA fantasy romance books. Absolutely devoured it. Absolutely loved it, and I cannot wait for the next book in this series. I just can't wait. Then we read Ready or Not, which I really enjoyed. This got this a book of the month. I think this is the February book of the month. Read it in March. Just look at the cover, just giving me all the spring vibes. Absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars. Sorry, you guys can hear my kids in the background. It's following Eve and her pregnancy journey. You get to see how she's feeling through each trimester, her thoughts, how she's feeling, what she's dealing with, while also seeing her slowly fall in love with one of her childhood best friends. It was just everything. It was beautiful. I loved it. I loved both men in her life. I love seeing that how accurate this represented pregnancy and what people deal with when dealing with pregnancy. Such a unique time in your life that I just felt like this represented it very well. Like I can't wait to reread it again. I absolutely devoured it and loved it. There's just so much that happens in it that is so relatable and understanding, and if you are a mother or are a first-time mom and or currently pregnant, read it. It's freaking amazing. It's just everything. I absolutely love this book and I need to go read more by Cara Bastone because loved her writing as well. And the last physical book that I have on hand is Pucking Around by Emily Rath. Loved it. Gave it 4.5 stars. Why choose romance? It is just giving everything. I ate it up. I loved Rachel and the guys. I loved the male-male relationship in the Why Choose group. It was just everything. And it was hockey romance. Like, how could you go wrong? If you guys don't know, this is following Rachel, who is an intern doctor for the Jacksonville Rays, and she ended up having a one-night stand with one of the hockey players but didn't know, and when she gets to the team she realizes like, oh shit, like that's my guy, you know, that's the one that like literally my soulmate. Till this day she couldn't stop thinking about him. What are the chances? Fate. And then she also realizes that she has feelings for Caleb and then eventually Mars as well. So you see this whole big dynamic happening. Of course, right after reading this I jumped into Pucking Ever After volume 1 and 2. I will say that you're not supposed to read volume 2 until after you read Pucking Wild. Volume 1, I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed it. I was not expecting some of the things that happened in there to happen because if you read the first book, then you know how the dynamic of the group was supposed to be. So I just feel like if you don't read the novellas, then you don't truly get the dynamic of this group. Doesn't that make sense? I feel like that makes sense. I gave both of them 4 stars. Absolutely loved it. I kind of just want more from them. They're just one of those reverse harem groups where I just want to keep reading about them because there's just so much going on in their life. Well, it's a beautiful ending of the story. And then I read Merciless and Relentless by Tracy Loreen, and I gave those both 3 stars. This is a dark romance reverse harem. Elena ends up getting kidnapped by Reed and JD. She already comes from like a very traumatic past and like growing up and things like that. She ends up lying about something, and that's why they end up kidnapping her. And they're trying to figure out why she's lying, who she's working for, things like that. So you're seeing this dynamic between all of them, and then you see her slowly falling for JD, but this whole time she is married. She is married to Mav, who is out there searching for her, frantically trying to figure out where his wife is at. Like, he knows that she wouldn't have left without at least letting him know. So this whole time you're seeing her captive, her dealing with Reed and JD, and how that whole dynamic is happening in Merciless. You get to Relentless and you see her basically in a relationship with JD and trying to figure out where her and Reed kind of stand. They have this very hate to love relationship going on, but they have this really big chemistry and attraction to one another at the same time. And then we have Mav, who she's always had this really deep attraction to, but he's always turned her down. And obviously in this one you see kind of Mav and her come together. That's her safety net. That's who she will do anything for, who she loves. But then you see her slowly loving JD as well. Both 3 stars. I'm ready to jump into the 3rd book sometime this month to see how that trilogy kind of just ends, because I feel like a lot of crap is going to happen in that 3rd book. Then I read Then Hate Me by Blake and Hensley. I gave that one 4 stars. That is one of the arcs that I read this month. I thought it was just a decent. This is following Markson and Olivia. Markson ends up kidnapping Olivia from her brother's wedding. She believes that Markson did this because her brother stole his bride at his wedding. It's like this whole enemies to lovers, but their brothers were best friends, so kind of this hate to love going on. She's not understanding why she's being targeted and why her brother isn't being targeted. This whole time he's using Olivia to get back at her brother because he believes that that's the only way that he can truly hurt her brother, is by messing with her and tarnishing her reputation. As you go, things start unfolding and truths start being told, and it was just really a ride, a dark romance book to read. Then I ended up reading Sucker Punch, which is my 2nd arc this month that I read by Hensley. And this is a reverse harem. This is more of like the fighting realm. So in this one, we're really dealing with cage fighting. We have Ari, Bones, Lotto, and Frankie. Bones is a fighter. Frankie is a retired fighter and helps Ari run her gym. He basically coaches the fighters and things like that, and they really need a star fighter. So she ends up seeing Bones fighting, and she knows that they need someone to fill that spot in their gym to really start bringing in the money for them. So she ends up signing Bones to her gym. Lotto is a package deal. He's Bones' best friend, lover, just everything more. So he basically manages all Bones, everything, his whole life. This one we kind of see that dynamic. You see that Ari and Frankie already are kind of like in a relationship, but don't really like, they're not like claiming each other like that. Like, they just know each other and they know that to each other they are each other's. Like, does that make sense? So we have the same thing kind of happening with Bones and Lotto. My biggest issue is that you kind of felt, while I read it, when I read a reverse harem, I don't want to feel like this dynamic. If 2 people were already together before that, I don't want to feel this dynamic where it's like, if something happens, you already know who the other person is going to choose. And I feel like while reading this group, I felt like you could tell, like, if something ever went down, Ari was going to have Frankie's back and Bones was going to have Lotto's back. It wasn't going to be like a cohesive thing. You do see them all interact with one another. They're all very sexual with one another, which is another thing that you usually don't see in reverse harem. In a group, it's usually, like I say multiple times throughout my video, it's usually them with the girl, or there's 1 or 2 in that group where, you know, they're in a relationship as well with each other and her. And this one, they're all for each other. I also felt like it was just very fast paced. Like, we didn't let the romantic chemistry between all the characters kind of just build up and give you that monumental moment that you want in a relationship or you want to feel while reading a romance book. I just felt like it was just very quick pace and like bam, 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 things were happening. And I didn't get like the slow building of all the chemistry and the love and the feelings kind of just work up to that point where they all want to be together. At least that's just how I felt. So I ended up giving this one 3 stars because of that. Next book we're going to be talking about is Too Safe by Abby Mosaps. I gave this one 4 stars. This is a football romance, college romance, and a why choose romance. Told you I read a lot of why choose romance this month. And this is following Josephine, Locke, Kylan, Decker, and Kendrick. Josephine comes from a very traumatic upbringing and just past and just general. She gets to Lake Chapel and wants to start new. She wants to live, so she ends up moving in with her uncle, and her uncle kind of just is excited about this, you know? She starts college, meets her best friend Hunter there, and goes about just trying to do what she does to just through life, because that's all she knows. So she ends up getting a job at this spa and ends up seeing Locke and Kendrick there and seeing an exchange that she doesn't really understand. At first she thought that Locke was there for her because her and Locke have this little romance going on, and that ends up not being the case, and they end up freaking out. So Decker, who is known as Cap, ends up kidnapping her with the guys and has her living with them on this island, and basically tells her that she needs to stay with them until the football season is over, and they know that she's not going to talk because they don't trust her because she's new to town and they can't find any dirt on her. As the story goes on, you see her each having these panic attacks when she's with each of the guys, and they truly don't know what's going on, and they know that it's having these panic attacks because of a reason, but the guys understand because they all have their own issues going on and they all have experienced something that has affected them in the past. So we're slowly learning all of this, and also things start happening. This romance starts forming between Kylan and her, Locke and her, Decker, Kendrick and her. The first one you mostly see really Locke and Kylan and her relationship really start to bring. This ends in a huge cliffhanger that made me jump right into the second book, but I didn't finish it until the beginning, literally on the 1st of April. So much is happening that just keeps you wanting to keep reading. I absolutely love books that end in cliffhangers. It's like a love-hate relationship, especially if the series is not complete yet, then obviously it really sucks. But if the series is complete, you can jump right into the next book. It's amazing. You're all for it. Those are all the books that I read this month. I can't say that I absolutely hated one book this month. There are more that I disliked than the other. It was a great reading month. How about you guys comment down below your guys' favorite books that you guys read this month? I will have to say it was Powerless and Ready or Not. Those are my 2 5-star this month, and I absolutely loved both of those books. Yeah, I just hope you guys also had a great reading month in March. It just felt like March was just such a long month. We'll talk to you guys in the next video. Bye!